I thought everything was ruined. I thought my life was over. The expectations I had at that point, everything was crumbling at my fingertips. And now looking back to see the beauty that was created out of such a heart-wrenching situation, I'm forever grateful. Hi, my name's Christine Whisler, and you're entering A World Gone Good.
Well, hello, my name's Steve, and this is the place where we shine the light on everyday people making good happen each and every day. Welcome to World Gone Good. Okay, I'm going to say it. The world has been pretty gone bad lately. It's kind of dark. There's a lot of shit going down all over the map. And I want to take this time to remind you that this is why we're here together. This is what we do. We take a breath, we shine the light, we be the light in the darkness. And we tell ourselves by listening to others out there doing good, just like our guest today, that we too can do good. That is how we balance all this out. And that is my message for you to open the show today. We started the year by our new slogan, which is what? It's say yes. So today, I want you to say yes to the good. Today, you're going to hear one word keep coming up: expectations. For example, my expectation was to record, produce, edit, and finish this here episode in London. And I did the first part, the recording, but I did not expect the rest to happen on another continent in Atlanta, Georgia, which is ironic because our guest recorded with us from Tampa, Florida. And logically, I should have done this in reverse. I should have recorded from here in Atlanta. She's in Tampa, then go back to London and finish it. I did it backwards. So how did we end up finishing the production of this one in Atlanta? Well, now that we are settled in the UK, we got the green light from our landlord to have our best pal, Oliver, join us. Oliver is our cat who has been patiently waiting for us to get our shit together and come get him. And we are thrilled to say we've gotten our shit together to reunite with him and bring him over and introduce him to tea and scones. Now, as noted, our good guest today is out of Tampa, Florida. Her name is Christine Whisler. And she came on to record with me, and she's come on to record with me and to meet you, all about being the CEO of her own company, Southern Palm Communications. But while we started our conversation, dude, you'll hear, we do it the way we always do it, something pretty good and magical happened. And that is, we sort of veered off into a very unexpected place. And I got to tell you, I love when we are recording and this happens. It's just so in the moment and it's so revealing, and you're going to hear it coming up. And I want to say it was all her idea. Like she just, you'll hear it. She's like, oh, I thought of this, and she offered it. And it's just like this reminder to me, to all of us, to trust our guts, to go with our feelings, and to feel safe to share something good. Here comes Christine Whisler with her good story. So my producer, Lisa, loves to pitch me and send me and convince me willingly, happily so, on my part, when she's got a great guest or a great friend or somebody of interest that she wants to bring onto the show for everybody to meet. And that is the case today. Christine, you are here. So the first question obviously is, how do you know my producer, Lisa?
What an honor to be one of those people. I am thrilled. Yes, my name is Christine Whisler, and I know Lisa from some pro bono work that I recently did with my PR business. She does some amazing work helping this local nonprofit in Tampa, Florida.
And that's where you are?
Yes, sir. That's where I am.
And you've been in Tampa your whole life. You've moved to Tampa.
Born and raised here in Tampa, Florida. I did move away for a couple years to central Pennsylvania for work when I was a news reporter, and I'm back, boomeranged. I made my way back to Tampa and am here forever, I believe. All the family.
Yeah, Lisa did that in a different order.
Yeah? Really?
Yeah, because she was in New Jersey when we grew up, and she went to Pennsylvania for college, back to New Jersey, and then boomerang down to Tampa. So you guys were just flying all over the place.
Look at that. I love it. That's, I could tell a terrible joke, which is that they call this heaven's waiting room here in Florida. This
I've
is
heard worse.
where we will all be probably forever. Once you come, you tend to not leave.
Let's segue over to here, which is not as happy of a topic, but it did work out apparently pretty well. You were 3 years old when you were diagnosed with a brain tumor.
Yes, sir, I was, and I consider it one of the biggest gifts that I've ever been given.
Amazing for you to say that. Why?
It makes me live every day with such purpose. It's made me live my entire life with such purpose and passion. I go get my brain tumor checked. It's about the size of a golf ball. It's not small, and it's still there right in the middle of my head. I'm 35 years old now. And I get it checked every single year ever since I was 3 years old. They found it by accident. My sister and I, she's 16 months older than me. We were close in age and we were racing to the front door, and to answer the front door, I was winning, and she grabbed the back of my shirt and threw me back on the ground. I hit my head. My parents wanted to make sure I didn't have a concussion, got me checked out. Good news, didn't have a concussion. Bad news, had a brain tumor the size of a golf ball. And like I said, I just get it checked every year. And truly, I pray when I'm in that MRI machine and say, God, if you give me one more year here on earth, what am I going to do with it?
That's a good re-up every year, isn't it, to your contract, your life contract? And
Yes.
that's
And
really incredible story. I have a friend named Eric, and he was walking his daughter to school, and they were walking through a crosswalk in somewhere in Los Angeles, California. And this guy like blew through the stop sign, and he shoved his daughter out of the way. Right? He got hit by the
oh
car.
my goodness.
He goes to the hospital. He's okay, but they're like, no, 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 you need to go to a hospital. He goes to the hospital, and they're like, hey, good news, you didn't break any bones. Everything's fine. But, when we were scanning you and we scanned your head, we found a brain tumor.
Get out. Same thing. That's wild.
And the same thing. And it's just crazy. Now, let me ask you this. At 3 years old, do you remember all this? Or is it just so you've been told it enough, the story?
Yes, I've been told the story enough of how it happened, but I remember being probably around 5 or 6. I remember getting the IVs, and, because I've always had to be around so many IVs, my parents took me to 9 neurologists to make sure that they didn't have to cut this thing out of my head, and that I wasn't dying on the spot, and, luckily, 8 of the 9 neurologists agreed that it was probably just this weird mass and that, we probably never would have known it was there if I didn't get this MRI, and that I'll probably be okay, all things considered, other than it is touching my pituitary gland, so it did impact, a little bit of, like, fertility and stuff like that, but they said that all things considered, I'll live a pretty normal life, which I am blessed and honored to say that is happening.
That's great. But there's some conspiracy theorists out there right now who's like, that's her unborn twin and it's growing out of the middle of her head. How many times have you heard that
Oh
nonsense?
my gosh, so Benny, have you seen, My Big Fat Greek Wedding? I
Uh-huh.
bet it has teeth and it has
Teeth and hair.
yes,
Yes.
the whole thing. Yeah. You know? I guess we'll never know.
That's so interesting. And here you are, and you spin it by choice, which is what our show is about, and look at it as a good thing.
Yes, well, thank you, life's too short not to, and that's my main message is that just tomorrow is not promised. Time is precious. Be kind to one another, love everyone around you, and love yourself.
Great. Let's wrap up the show. No, just kidding.
That's it.
Let's talk about your news career back in Pennsylvania. When was that?
Yes, so I was a news reporter for over a decade and, won an Emmy, got the dang piece of metal, which was cool, and then after a decade so I started in Sarasota, Florida. I actually got my first job offer after graduating from University of Florida, go Gators. I got my first job offer in North Platte, Nebraska, which if you know anything about TV media markets in the United States, there's 210 of them. And like number one is New York, two is LA, three is Chicago. So the more people watching TV in any given media market, the more the news personalities get paid because the more eyeballs are on the commercials. So the more the advertisement costs. That's kind of the way this all works. So, long story short, first job offer, North Platte, Nebraska, market 209 out of 210, and I got offered $14,000 and 2 days vacation, and I accepted that position with glee. All I wanted to do was be a news reporter. And my mom was crying tears of joy tears of sadness, while I cried tears of joy because she was like, "North Platte, Nebraska? We're in Tampa, Florida. Why are you going to North Platte, Nebraska?" But as life happens, a few minutes later, I got a phone call from Sarasota, Florida, a news station down there. They offered me $10,000 more. They offered me about $25,000 and 2 weeks vacation. So I ended up going to Sarasota, Florida, and over the decade, I went from Sarasota, Florida, up to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and then back here to my hometown of Tampa, Florida. Told thousands of stories, met the most amazing people, and it was just a beautiful season of life. But ultimately, the higher I worked my way up in that world, the more bad stories I was telling.
Yeah.
So the more they call it slime, grime, crime. If it bleeds, it leads, that kind of thing. And at this point, I'm 10 plus years into my career, and I'm here in Tampa in my hometown where I know there's so many amazing individuals. And I'm just telling what feels like the worst 1% of society and dispersing that to 100% of society, just thumbing through these criminal reports. And I said, you know what? Life is too short for this. And switched careers completely 4.5 years ago, and haven't looked back. And my new career is a public relations person helping businesses and nonprofits. I started specifically just with nonprofits, but have since morphed into businesses as well, who are trying to do good in the world and getting them into the news cycle, getting them the public awareness they deserve. So I'm using my gifts for good to try to get good news into the news cycle is my goal in life now.
Well, there's got to be some similarities which you were able to pull over because you're the CEO of Southern Palm Communications. Did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
Good me. Go me. Go me. Okay. But yeah, you had to have pulled some of the abilities, like you were just saying, of looking for stories, looking for places that needed a help. And the journalistic background has got to be something that's aiding you in making decisions in what you're going to take on as clients and what people you want to help out.
Yeah, it really has. It was a seamless transition to, I kind of say I know how the sausage is made since I was in the newsroom for all those years. And now that I'm outside the newsroom, I know what they want presented to them on a silver platter. And a lot of the time, these nonprofits, which is again how I met your producer at this nonprofit event I was doing pro bono work for, these nonprofits just don't quite know how to present the information on that silver platter. So that's what I do is try to help them turn it into a diamond and get it picked up. And because the more people know about your organization trying to do good in the world, the more people will volunteer, will participate, will donate, will all the above. And it just kind of turns into a beautiful snowball effect. So it's all good.
Yeah, you're talking as somebody who worked for the United Way in college. I worked for the United Way when I left college. I worked for the American Cancer Society. I volunteered at the American Cancer Society, several shelters, the Santa Barbara Humane Society, all sorts of places. So I understand. And I think that the thing that I always have learned along the way is that people want to feel connected.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so how do you make that happen? How do you get somebody? Because so many people, and I remember this is like, I mean, I used to have to do these cold calls for the American Cancer Society, and I was always happy when I got a family. This is terrible to say this, but somebody who had used the services of the American Cancer Society, right? It made the much easier conversation.
Yes, of course.
Connectivity, the connective tissue.
Yes.
How does that speak to you in what you do?
Oh my gosh, that's spot on. So a little inside baseball here from an Emmy award-winning news reporter. So for your listeners, the every news story that you watch, you'll find that there's a character, an expert, and a whole lot of B-roll. So what does that mean in layman's terms? The character is the person who's impacted by some kind of situation. The expert is the person who has all the knowledge or who is kind of running either the event or the program, whatever it is that the story's about. And then the B-roll is all of the visuals. So It's all the, you can't do a TV story with just talking heads. You have to have the people slicing the tomatoes or wrapping the Christmas presents or whatever that visual might be. So those are three key elements of a news story. And we kind of help folks um, understand those elements and how to make it all work. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense, and I think so much of it too is marketing, but it's also, again, it's like careful marketing, because my experiences with the American Cancer Society and United Way in particular, so much of it was dollars in, dollars in, dollars in,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Whereas there are so many opportunities for people, even people listening right now, that it's not just the dollars in. It's exactly what you just said. It's if you have a skill that we can connect up with something we're working on, that's as good as dollars in. And it's the same with volunteers. Oh my God, it's like anything. It's like if you look at a blood drive, is that dollars in? No, that's people coming out to give blood. You know
Amen,
what I mean? It's
right?
like that's how you have to do that kind of thing. And it gets tricky because I found in the past is like, oh, my favorite question, which you will, I'm sure, will laugh and love. I used to get donors call up and they would call us and I would take the phone, go, sure, I'd love to. Of course, I want to take your donation to the American Cancer Society, right? And they would call in. And then the first question they would ask me about, oh, what's your name? Oh, my name's Stephen. What do you do? Well, I'm uh, I think what was my title? Something events coordinator, but I'm just taking your call because any one of us can fill out this form, right? And then they would say, and are you a volunteer? And I go, no, I work here. And then they would say to me, and how much do you make?
Oh my
And I'd be like, and how much do you make?
Yeah, that's such a
But then
would you like to
I
see
would
my underwear as well?
I know! Ask me how much I weigh next or how old I am, right? But it's funny because I got many people saying along the ways that there's this expectation that I should do this out of the goodness of my heart.
Yeah, yeah.
And the goodness of my heart is only so big, it can't pay the rent.
Yes,
And I would say to people, well, yes, but you're also talking to somebody, and I can remember these numbers. The American Cancer Society, our numbers were fantastic. Like 94 cents of every dollar goes to cancer research programs
yes,
and cancer health, right?
yes.
The rest of that 6 cents is divided up between marketing, blah, blah, blah. And it's less than something like two pennies on the dollar that is paying my salary.
Absolutely, I know. And you gotta help the machine run, you gotta put gas in the car to make the car run, right?
And you want an expert like you talked about, and not like I was some expert, but I certainly was giving it a little more of my all as somebody who's being paid to be there.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. You absolutely were an expert, and it does take time and, just finding the people that are willing to find those characters, if you will, the folks that have been impacted. Good for you. United Way and ACS, American Cancer Society, I just did stories with both of them within the last couple weeks, so I'm a big fan, and I love the synergy. It sounds like you've done so much good in your life too, and
Yeah, I've tried. Yeah, I gotta make up. Done a lot of shitty things too, so I gotta make up for it.
feel that.
But I always find along the way is like people have, again, this expectation. So I wanted to ask you about that, like expectations in your life. Do you have them? Did you have them? Have you learned to work through them, around them?
Oof, that's a great that is a great question. Um, you know, at this point in my life, expectations are hope for the good, and when you're in the bad, know that it will end. Can I share a bit of a personal story? So I was this news reporter. I had my dream gig here in Tampa with a station. I was the Pinellas County bureau reporter which was my home county that I was born and raised in. My mom was one of my biggest cheerleaders in this whole news thing for 10 plus years. She was getting on to any and every news segment, logging on through her computer, her phone, watching on TV any which way she could when she was either here in Tampa or when I was in PA. She was always the biggest fan, and she would tell people at the gym, like, "That's my daughter on TV," and just one of the big fans, right? Like any good mom is. And my dad was too, don't get me wrong. Me and my dad, my sister are all extremely close, but mom was just one proud mama bear. And for 6 months of my life in 2020, amid COVID, for 6 months, everything was perfect because I had moved down to Florida, got my dream gig. My then fiance moved down and we bought a home together. We were a stone's throw away from my parents and my sister. And Life was good. I had my dream job. And then a few months later, in October of 2020, my mom was like, "Hey, I can't, I'm like getting a little dizzy when I get out of chairs." And long story short, she was diagnosed with Creutzfeldt-Jakob's disease. So after 2 weeks of kind of being able to walk unsteady, and then 2 weeks of having to hold my dad's hand everywhere she went, 2 weeks of having to use a walker everywhere she went, 2 weeks of being in a wheelchair, 2 weeks of almost not even being able to get in the wheelchair, we finally were like, wait a minute, like this, something has to give. And we went to multiple doctors here in the Tampa area. And finally, in January of 21, she said to my fiance at the time, and we were set to get married in a castle in Ireland in May of 2021. So just 4, 5, 6 months later, whatever that is. And in January 21, she says to my now husband Alan, she says, "Hey, I went to Disney World today and I tried to call you to come, but you didn't answer." And lo and behold, she did not go to Disney World. So I say all this that the mental decline began. So it's just this super rapid physical and then mental decline. So we ended up at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. And we get this horrendous news that she has Creutzfeldt-Jakob's disease, which is the umbrella disease. It's a protein disease and prion disease, they call it. It's a umbrella disease for mad cow is one of is where you eat the protein and it impacts all your proteins to make them start turning the wrong way and it pokes little holes in your brain essentially. So there's the one where you eat the bad protein, which is like not in America anymore, and like 2 or 3% of cases these days in the world. There's the sporadic kind, which was her kind, which is about 90% of cases where one day they don't know why your prions, your proteins start turning the wrong way. And within 4 or 5 months, you can't walk, can't talk, and you go to heaven. And that's it. And they still don't know why. And then thank God we didn't have the genetic is the other one, which is about 5% of cases or something. That takes out the whole family, which thank
Wow.
goodness that was not our case. So I say all of this because it's kind of a crazy story. We're supposed to get wed in Ireland with 250 of our closest friends and family in, like, 5 months from then. And mom was my best friend. And I said, "Mom, you are not missing this wedding. We are going to make this happen." And I called one place. And remember, we're in COVID at this time. So I am calling from a hospital from the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. I call one barn down here in Florida because it was COVID and I knew it had to be outdoors. And I said, "Hey, my mom's dying. We just got this diagnosis. Is there any way that you can throw us a wedding in 6 days?" The doctor said we have to throw it this weekend to make sure that her brain will be able to enjoy it. And the woman starts crying on the phone and she said, "My name is Angel. My mom was my best friend and I will throw you the wedding of your dreams." And I said, "Angel, I can't thank you enough. I know we're only allowed to have 50 people at the wedding, so we're going to cut this wedding list from 250 to 50 because of COVID restrictions. Do you have anybody with the Christian vibes? We're Catholic or Christian, whatever, it doesn't matter. Can you just find somebody who will marry us?" And she said, "Yep, I have just the guy. His name is Angel. He'll be there to marry you guys." And I said, "Great." And last question, most of the people at the wedding will be my mom's friends from Chicago. Do you have a venue? This is kind of what we're thinking, where we're looking for like a hotel where I could tell everyone to go. And she was like, "Yep, for exactly what you're talking about. The event coordinator's name is Angel."
What the heck?
We had 3 angels throw us this little wedding in 6 days, and it was the most beautiful wedding that I could have ever hoped for. Completely, heart-wrenching, right? At the same time, it's
Yeah.
my mom's goodbye party, essentially. She passed 2, 3 months later, and, but with that, and I swear I'm tying this back to the expectations. So, the other part of this story is in while we walk out of Mayo Clinic, we get this crazy news that, "Hey, your mom is dying. Go home, get hospice. She's soon not going to be able to talk or walk or anything, and she's gonna that's gonna be it." So I immediately go into the mode of let's make the most of every minute. Mom only has 3 months to live at this point. Let's make this the best 3 months of her life. We go outside from that doctor's appointment, still on the grounds of the Mayo Clinic, and there's this huge Christmas tree. We're talking like 7, 8 stories, like massive Christmas tree. And my mom, big Christmas fan. It's 6 degrees outside, mind you. It is so chilly. And this guy is running by, this young guy running by with his hands in his pocket. I was like, sir, can you take a picture of us? Like, we just got some crazy news. Like, can you just grab one picture of us in front of this tree? I just want to start making some happy memories. And he was like, absolutely. So poor guy, 6-degree weather, which is, if anybody's been in that, the air hurts your body, right? It's just cold to be outside. And 6-degree Fahrenheit, since you have listeners around the world, I should say. So he pulls his hands out of his pockets, takes the picture, and says, can I pray with you? And we were like, sure. What? And he moves his scarf. He was like, well, you said you got some crazy news. I'm a Catholic priest. I went to Notre Dame, and I'd like to say a prayer for whatever news you got. And we just started losing it because my mom is like the most Irish Catholic person you could have ever met in your life, the jolliest of all jolly redheads that has ever existed. And she went to Notre Dame. And we were like, "What? Like, you went to Notre Dame? And okay, like, great. Yeah, you can pray for us. She's dying. She's gonna be, God willing, in heaven in 3 months. So, yeah, we'd love a prayer." He hands us a rosary that he was given by a nun and says, meet me at this church tomorrow. I want to give you your last rites. And so while he's giving the last rites, he says, Kathy, your heart is a beautiful bouquet of roses. I can just see God with your heart. Just you are ready to go home. Like, he is calling you home. And fast forward 6 days later, we had the wedding with roses, red roses to boot, all over. And the last part of this monologue, any good wedding, the bride is all excited about the wedding dress, right? I promise that it is not as bougie as it sounds, but from Clearwater, Florida, there's a little boutique, and I had ordered this wedding dress with her, and her cousin lives in Italy, and the dress was being shipped from Italy, and I call her from, again, this is all happening within a 24-hour period. I call her from the hospital. I'm like, hey, my mom's dying. I'm not going to be able to wear that wedding dress. I know that it doesn't come in for another 2 months or so. And I just, well, we'll still pay for it, whatever. I just want you to know, like, what's kind of happening. And she starts crying on the phone, and she says, Chrissy, this never happens. Your wedding dress came in last night, 2 months early. This never happens. Like, I will make it happen for you. Like, she came to the house then every day of those 6 days and fitted me in the living room, so I didn't even have to leave mom's side. So to loop this back to your expectation question, did did I ever expect to get married in a barn with 50 people, with 3 people named Angel throwing the wedding here in Florida? No, my expectation was to live a long, happy life with my mother and family, and to get married in this Ireland castle. And you know what? I believe God is good, and every situation can be used for good, no matter what situation we're in life, even when it doesn't feel good. He knows our heart, even when the situation is heartbreaking. He wants to use the situation for good and to glorify him. And I can't make a story like this up, right? From her crazy 1 in a million disease, to the wedding being thrown, to the dress coming in early, to all the angels, to the guy taking the picture and the red roses and the last rites. Like, it is better than any expectation that I could have ever had. Was it heart-wrenching and awful and horrible to go through? Absolutely. And trust me, I went through quite a bit of therapy after to talk through some of this grief. And despite being a strong woman of faith, huge believer in mental health, and the expectation that I had, like, this far exceeded it. But I can say that now, 4, 5 years later, that the expectation in the moment, I thought everything was ruined. I thought my life was over. The expectations I had at that point, everything was crumbling at my fingertips. And now, looking back to see the beauty that was created out of such a heart-wrenching situation, I'm forever grateful.
Well, let me just say this to anyone listening. So before I start these shows, and Christine can can back me on this. I give a little talk before we hit the record button. And one of the things I say is, this audience loves a personal story. They love a story like when you're at a coffee shop or you're at a movie theater and somebody's having a conversation next to you and you want to join the conversation, you want to correct the conversation. And we were kind of like agreeing on this and laughing, you and I, because I've done this so many times with so many guests, 200 plus times. But I think you win with that story you just told in
No.
terms of sharing something about yourself. But I want to get to something with this because something about what you do every day, and it's right on your website, who you are. It's faith and family forward is a slogan for you, if I have that right.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
I don't think I even have to ask what this means, but what does it mean? And how does it apply back to helping others for you?
I heard this great quote, and I'm not going to be able to quote it with any kind of elegance right now. But the meaning of the quote was that the work that we do is a symbol of our love. It was actually the same meeting that your producer was at. So that was at this meeting they said the work that you do every day is a symbol of the love that you can give the world. It's a skill that you have. So, but what is life really about? It's not about work. It's not about the dollars and cents. It's about people. It's about connecting. It's about helping other people. And time is precious. If I've learned anything from this brain tumor, from my mom's crazy rare disease and passing, is that life is precious. Tomorrow's not promised. And having faith for what is yet to come and enjoying your family and the people that are around you, like that's the good stuff. That's what it's all about.
We close these shows with 3 questions. Don't panic. The answers. Easiest one first. Where do people find you online? How do they learn more about you? And if they're in the Tampa, Florida, or Florida in general, panhandle area, see, I know that term, how do they get in touch with you to work with you?
Oh, well, thank you so much. My website is southern-palm.com, SOUTHERN-PALM.com, like the palm tree. Southern Palm Communications. My name is Christine Whisler. My husband, Alan Whisler, and I started the organization. And yeah, you can reach out there and schedule a free one-on-one Zoom with me, and we can connect and chat. Um, can I throw one other thing at you that I feel is pertinent to add for the conversation? And you can
You
always delete it
can.
later if you
No,
want.
no, you can, as long as we agree that this that we're doing right now does not count as my free Zoom should I need to work with you in the future.
That absolutely. You can get unlimited amounts, whatever you want. I'm here for it. um, the other part of this story, so being purpose and passion driven, my I after mom passed, I went to a therapist. My husband, my dear loving husband, who I'd been married to for like a couple months at that point, was like, "Hey, you really need to talk to someone." So I did what they call the therapist dating. I found someone that I vibed with, and it was like $200 an hour. It was super expensive, but she saved my life. She was amazing. She helped me work through that grief journey that I was going through. My husband and I said, after I got through that a couple months later, we were like, there's got to be a better way. So, long story short, we invested in a mental health company. It's called Ellie Mental Health, ELLIE, Ellie Mental Health. We are the franchise owners down here in Tampa. We have 2 clinics open so far, each with a couple dozen therapists, and are hoping to open 4 more. It is not a get quick rich scheme on our part. You don't even start usually making money till the third, fourth one are even open, but that's okay. We are so purpose and passion driven. So the whole thing is about affordable mental health care. We have multiple master's level therapists that are helping people for if with their insurance, like $30 an hour, something like that, 30, 40.
Wow.
So just a huge mental health proponent. And I think that that's a huge part of how I've been able to continue turning all these situations back to good. Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that on a mental health note. And then one other little crazy, like last minute thing, which you absolutely can cut out, I promise. But just this past, it goes kind of back to expectations. I had a baby this past January. We have a 10-month-old.
Oh,
Thank
congrats.
you. It was three and
Nice.
a half years of prayers, and we got there. We had the baby. it all goes back to that brain tumor, why it was so difficult to have the baby, but we had the baby. She's healthy. I'm healthy. And then 3 weeks later, our 3-week-old Jack Russell dog started acting a little weird. And we had 2 dogs at the time. And our 3-week-old Jack Russell started acting a little weird. We take him for 3 appointments. They say he's fine, he's fine, he's fine. And he had cancer throughout his body, and we had to put him down that day. But I'm sorry, I'm totally monologuing now, but to wrap this up, a month before, somebody had asked us, "Hey, that's a really cute dog. Can he be a model for this dog food that we want to put out?" And we were like, "Absolutely." And they're like, "We'll even pay him $150 and give him endless dog treats." And we're like, "Sure, like, sounds great." So you can now go to any Walmart around America or anywhere really, and see our teddy bear on this food. And he randomly passed then, right? And then the dog food comes out the next month. It's a calming medicine. He's just this little Jack Russell. I don't even remember the name of the medicine now at the moment, but just another example of like expectations. We never know what's coming in life, and you have to make the most of every moment. I'll just stop my little monologue there.
2 more questions to wrap up. Question number 1, we ask all our guests. It can be anyone you want it to be, or any type of person you want it to be, or people. Who inspires you?
Mother Mary is going to be my answer for today. Just the pain that she had to go through. And in my personal belief system, I'm very non-denominational. You know, God is love wherever you are in your faith journey. But for me, the pain that Mother Mary had to go through seeing her son die on the cross, but it was for the greater good. The pain that we suffer in this world, it can be used for a greater good. We don't have to just sit and let the pain end there. It can be used for a greater good. So there's my answer.
And the final question is not a question. It's simply a statement to finish any way you'd like. Goes like this. Finish this statement. Tell me something good.
Time is precious. Make the most of today.
Thank you, Christine, for sharing your good. Next time on World Gone Good.
I found the inner strength along the way. I didn't know I had it in me. I dare say that most people very likely don't realize they have inner strength in them until they're put into some extreme situation where it has to come out and emerge. Otherwise, you just won't make it.
At the age of 17, Jeffrey Deskovic was wrongfully committed of raping, beating, and strangling a fellow classmate. He served 16 years in a super max prison, and through it all, he maintained his innocence. In 2006, with support from the Innocence Project, new DNA testing led to the finding of the real criminal and finally freeing him. Jeff joins us to share his incredible journey from the darkest of places to becoming a lawyer and opening the Deskovic Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to the exoneration of the wrongfully convicted, their recovery, and reform of the overall system. I cannot wait to share his inspiring story with you on our next all-new episode. Until then, be good.